time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Oil Stream, brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen, with over a dozen locations in the Edmonton area. More on the way. Get your delicious Popeye's chicken sandwich and those juicy, crispy, delicious nuggets today as well. And of course, for a limited time, the Oilers meal that they've got over there at Popeyes. I saw it broadcasted on the, you see it on the Oilers broadcast all the time, but you can go, they've got 4 collector's pucks, and you get the sandwiches, you get the nuggets, you get the sides, you get the drink. It's excellent deal. Look at us, Tommy. A couple of boys in black today. Hey, looking good, looking good.
Well, this is charcoal gray, first of all.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, and then we're complementing it with a navy blue t-shirt. And
see, I don't have that LASIK yet. It looks all black to me, buddy.
Yeah, well, that's funny because right before we hopped on, my screen was green, and you said it was my eyes. They messed them up when they fixed them.
That's what I thought.
We're even here. And, you know, when I go to Popeyes, I always say, guess what, guys? I heard about you on the Oil Stream. And then they look at me
greasy.
like, I don't know what they look at me like I'm crazy. And we just move on with our days, and that's it.
Tommy and I have a schedule set up where we each hit a different Popeyes each day and be like, roll in there just like, hey, I heard about it on the Oil Stream. Like, come on, guys, we know it's your thing. Like, we're not tricking anybody at this point, but it is creating a buzz, so that's nice. If you are watching on the live stream, you're not yet subscribed to the podcast, just search the Oil Stream on all your podcasting platforms so you never miss an episode. And we've got a bunch of good questions today. I kind of put out the call for some questions on Twitter, and whenever we do that, we get some good ones. We get some crazy ones too, but we'll get into that a little bit. But Tommy, let's start. 3-0, Koskinen with the shutout. He's been excellent in his last 2 games. He's been pretty decent over his last 7 to 8 starts as well. If you want to talk about Koskinen last night, if there's something else that jumps off the page for you in that win over Philly, go ahead. What was the one thing that stood out to you? What was the buzz on the post-game show last night?
There was not a lot of angst or people not pleased with how things went overall, which was great. Obviously, the result is what matters, and how they got the result wasn't critiqued. And sometimes that occurs where people don't like the process in which the Oilers won. And we didn't see a lot of that on the post-game show. Listen, Koskinen, great. 39 saves, shutout, first shutout since 2019. He's been playing really well. We're seeing it in the numbers. 7-0-1 in his last 8 starts. He's earning these starts. Mike Smith, not so much, obviously. I like that they didn't play down to Philadelphia's level. Philadelphia is a wounded bunch. You could tell. I think every time Travis Sanheim got close to the puck, it bobbled and jumped, and he couldn't bang home empty netters and glorious opportunities. And I think that's just a microcosm of what's going on with the Philadelphia Flyers. Their confidence is shot. That team is just in a world of hurt. And I'm looking at that as an Oilers fan, if I'm putting myself in their shoes and I'm going, okay, I'm glad they won. I wasn't worried about that game at all. And you move on it because it wasn't pretty, and you try to refocus for Chicago. That's how I would look at it from a fan point of view. As a broadcaster, analyst, reporter, whatever, I'm looking at that. I'm like, well, most of the boxes are checked off. And now it leads us to this discussion about Mikko Koskinen, which is warranted, but at the same time, he's teased us.
Maybe he wins you over at some point still, Tommy. I know it's been over 3 years and it hasn't happened, but maybe look, if it hasn't happened now, it's probably not going to happen. I think he has been very good. Let's start here. The coaching change. I talked about this with Mike Johnson today, and he said, I don't know how much a coaching change impacts a goalie. Talked about it with Rashog as well on the show this morning, and he said that he thinks it's impact that goaltending situation quite a bit for Mikko Koskinen. And I mean, I would just simply say, when you're the other guy in a duo where your head coach loves Mike Smith, I think it's got to feel pretty awkward when your head coach doesn't want to say a bad thing about Mike Smith, even when he deserves to have things bad said about him at times, and is very quick to rip on you. I think that would mess with me emotionally and mentally and confidence-wise. I think a different approach here from Woodcroft may have something to do with this for Mikko Koskinen. Am I reading into that too much, or what do you think?
I'll say yes. And I'm going to side a little bit more with Johnny on this one, as opposed to Schauger and maybe to a certain extent you. And this is why. Like, with Dave Tippett as the head coach and this tandem of Smith, Koskinen, Koskinen took the net away from Smith a couple of times. I recall in the 1920 season, he basically took the job away from Mike Smith, and it was his. He dropped the ball. And there were times last year where he had to be relied upon. They gave him the net because Mike Smith was hurt, and he didn't run away with it. So maybe a little bit of mental relief. And Mikko Koskinen, and I say no as well, because Mikko Koskinen is not a guy that really deep dives and overthinks.
You don't think he gets into his own head on that type of stuff?
As far as I know, he keeps the outside noise to the outside really well, and nothing really gets to him. Like, take, for example, earlier in the year when there was some stuff written about him, and the question was asked of him, people here wanted you gone, blah, blah, blah. That didn't go over well with the teammates of Mikko Koskinen. The players were more upset with that. And I guess I was told this by someone from the team that the next day, Koskinen was just kind of sitting in the locker room, and he looked up. He goes, "Hey, what was up with the questions I was getting yesterday?" Just kind of casually threw it out there. And then this person explained it to him that, that was the line of questioning. Here's where it came from and why. And Mikko kind of was like, "Oh, okay, I understand now. Why would they ask that? Like, don't they know? I don't really think about that stuff. I'm just worried about the game." So I don't think the outside noise really bothers him. And on top of that, he's had the net before in the Dave Tippett era. It was given to him in multiple seasons, and he faltered. That's why I don't think it's necessarily the coaching change. And then on top of that, Dusty, I think you have a very motivated Mikko Koskinen, because he's playing for his NHL career and wants that contract next year. So both the team and the player can benefit mutually if he's playing well.
Do you think there's a $1.5 million, maybe $2 million backup position somewhere out there for Koskinen in the NHL? Yeah,
I do. I really do. His price point's terrible for what he gives you, and we're still laughing about Peter Chiarelli giving him that contract. Awful. Here we are 3 years later.
It would have been a different story if he's been playing for the Oilers for $1.5 million as a backup, on a backup deal for the last 4 years. I think he'd probably be viewed in an entirely different way.
How about Chris Russell now for $1 million? Right? I know. Nobody's saying anything because they don't care, and it's that sticking point, and it's understandable. But listen, a motivated Mikko Koskinen playing well, helping the team win, great. But people texting your show, me on the lowdown this morning saying, "How about an extension for half price?" It's just like, stop right there. Let's forget about that thought. And let's see what happens the rest of the year, and then let him go, wave goodbye, say thank you for his service, just like you probably will with Evander Kane.
With the rest of the year question, let me just, this is the ultimate Tommy Koskinen test here, okay? Is there a chance, or what would you say on a scale of 1 to 10, that there's a chance that Koskinen kind of plays like this the rest of the year and takes the Oilers on a little bit of a run? Out of 1 to 10, what would you put it at?
2.
That's 1 point higher than I thought you'd give it, Tommy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he'll tease you.
Because there's always a chance. Is that what you're saying? There's always a chance.
Sure,
yeah.
But, I mean, man, Hernan was getting excited today on the lowdown, and he got people going. And I was just like, can you stop, please? Stop. And, he's teased us before, Mikko Koskinen has. Credit where credit is due. He's been the main shining star of the game on the post-game show. Deservedly so, 2 of the last 3 games.
Yeah, what did he say? He's too old to worry about stats. He just cares about wins, which is, I mean, he's closing in on his mid-30s, man. It's a valid point. He doesn't really need to worry about the stats at this point. We're going to get to a bunch of questions here. We got your Remax question that we'll get to in a second as well. But, Tommy, I know you had McCurdy on the lowdown today, and I saw Rashog retweet Wood Guy talking about Leon Draisaitl. And so far under Jay Woodcroft, what is it, 9 goals for? He's been on for 9 goals for, 5 on 5, and none against. Have you noticed, like, that's a huge number. Have you noticed a significant difference in his game under Woodcroft that would lead you to believe when you see those numbers, you go, oh yeah, that's how good he's been?
Maybe some more attention to detail, and that you could probably spread that across the collective group, especially the forwards with the tweaks in the systems play and the backtracking that we've talked a lot about through the neutral zone. And we've seen Draisaitl on some great back checks. And maybe it's just benefited him. And maybe whatever Jay Woodcroft has thrown in for wrinkles has just clicked for Leon Draisaitl, or he could just be on a really lucky or hot stretch. But that is significant, and it's good to see he is not leaking goals when he's on the ice. I think that's a neat stat, and all the more respect to him. And to people that just say he's an offensive player and that's it, wrong. And that's a stat that backs that up.
You know what's funny? I don't know if you've seen it. Craig Button's been trending a bit on Twitter today because Leafs fans are like retweeting a video of Button 2 years ago. It's a 2-year-old video saying that Auston Matthews isn't the player that Leon Draisaitl is. And he's getting ripped for the comment. I don't know if people think it's from today or it's from 2 years ago, but Tommy, I'm here to say that it was true then and it's true now. And I don't know why Button's getting torn apart by Leafs Nation for this. Like, I know Auston Matthews having a great year, and I think he's won a lot of people over. He's stayed healthy for the most part. He's scoring goals in bunches. He's producing points in other ways that he hasn't done in the past. But he's still being outproduced by Leon Draisaitl so far this season. And Draisaitl's accomplished a bunch of stuff in his career that Matthews hasn't done yet. I see this trending for Button, and I'm looking at it, and I'm not really planning on getting involved with tweets myself, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, is this even really that off, whether it's 2 years ago or right now? It seems strange to me.
No, shocking that people would dig up old clips, old tweets, and bring them to the forefront these days just to get on their soapbox and lash out at media personalities. Button's one of the best. He's a sweetheart. Leon Draisaitl has won personal accolades in the National Hockey League for a reason, and he's a pretty well-rounded player, a dynamic player. Obviously, the defensive side of things is very impressive. Not taking anything away from Auston Matthews, who I think is a legit superstar in the NHL, but Leon probably has the edge and has done more on the defensive side of things in the 200-foot part of the game than Matthews to this point. Maybe Matthews, sharpens that side of his game up. I don't watch him day in, day out. I don't care to, unless we're pre-scouting for an Oilers game against the Leafs coming up, or he happens to be on a Saturday. But Leon Draisaitl has won those accolades for good reason. Is Auston Matthews a better goal scorer than Leon Draisaitl? Maybe naturally. But Leon Draisaitl seems to have a knack to find ways to score goals in all kinds of ways. So they're two great players, but Draisaitl has climbed to the tippy top and found a way to stick around there.
All right, let's get into your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. You can find him on the web at kenrmorrison.com. And, of course, he's been a realtor for over 20 years, top 10 realtor with Remax here in Edmonton. And he's got 3 spots in my Upper Deck Series 1 break tonight. He's locked and loaded tonight as well. If you're buying or selling, Ken's your guy, 780-993-4815. What do you got, Tommy?
I want to know if you're doing anything about your hands, first of all, for those videos. I know we're concerned about that. You were talking. I think they're fine. I think you just turn the little
They're pretty pale.
On the light.
I might need, actually, you know what it is? That's what it is. Like on this side, I've got 2 setups. I've got this desk, and then I've got my crack pack desk in the corner over there.
Right.
On this one, I've got like that orange lighting.
Yes.
Over there, it's the bright white lighting. I need to get the filters for those 2 lights. That's it, Tommy. You solved my issue.
I was worried about you. I was listening on the show today, and
that's right.
Just try the different lighting on your hands. Nobody will say anything, and then if worse comes to worse, and you're still being mocked, get Tam to give you a little manicure of some sort, and we'll clean those bad boys up. But
I might just start wearing gloves. But anyway, what's the question?
That's just so weird. The Ken Morrison Remax Excellence question of the day is this: Dusty Nielsen, who's going to win out that last spot on the blue line between Niemelainen and Lagesson? I like Niemelainen. I think he brings that dynamic that the Oilers really don't have on the back end. But last night, as you and I discussed prior to coming on, Lagesson had a good chunk more ice time yesterday. So
about 4 or 5 minutes more, didn't he?
Is that a tell from the coaching staff and Dave Manson? Or do you think Lagesson has the trust more so than Niemelainen? He did have 4 or 5 minutes more.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the exact numbers on the ice time last night so we can be 100% accurate, because that's obviously what we're all about here. Lagesson 13:10, Niemelainen just 8:44 last night. So a little bit of the odd man out. I think, Lagesson had 61 seconds on the penalty kill as well. Niemelainen didn't see any of that. I would like to see Niemelainen in there. Legason doesn't shy away from the physical play, but Niemelainen looks for it. Like, that's how he finds success. I think their blue line needs that element. But the fact that it's the first game back with Duncan Keith and you get more of that real look on your left side of your blue line, and Legason had 5 more minutes and actually got some special teams look. I mean, maybe it was just the coaches felt he was going a little bit more than Niemelainen last night, and that's why they went to him. I think in the end, Niemelainen probably wins out. So I'm gonna say it ends up being Niemelainen. I guess the plot twist here is, what's the deal with Chris Russell? When's Russell going to be back?
I don't know. That's the thing. Is they've
haven't heard anything.
It's always undisclosed with him. Have you noticed? Like early in the season, we heard, oh, he's got a neck thing. Oh, he's got a bit of a back thing. It's undisclosed. Like, is he just always hurt now? Like, his body, is it just breaking down at 34, 35 years of age?
When he's back, do you think he draws in that spot, or is it Niemelainen or Legason the rest of the way?
I think you can keep Niemelainen up here, and Russell is an upgrade over Legason. And you could just send Legason down. And
if you have to, Russell can play the right side as well, right?
I'm not knocking William Legason. I just see him and what he brings to the table as adequate filler, if that's a fair way to describe him. And that's great. He's doing good. He's earning his keep, but there's an element there that Niemelainen has that Legason does not. And then Chris Russell, like, is old faithful, old reliable, gets in front of a million shots, doesn't really bring any offense, but neither does William Legason. So I think Legason could be the odd man out there.
I'd have to dive into it, but their win-loss record with Chris Russell in the lineup is pretty darn good. Like, it seems like when he's in there, they're winning hockey games. So, but like Tommy said, it's kind of just a full-blown undisclosed all the time. So we'll have to keep tabs on that with the blue line. But that is your Ken Morrison Remax question of the day. If you're watching on the live stream, feel free to give us your answer as well. Legason or Niemelainen. We've got some questions that we're going to get to here as well. So let's dive into this. We'll bang out a few questions from Twitter. Leonidas Draisaitl says, Dusty, send me your parlay picks. Wrong podcast. Lock Shop will actually be done on Friday. With that being said, maybe at some point we bring a betting sponsor into the oil stream and we have some fun with that. Here we go. Does Holland explore the possibility of upgrading Barrie? Is that an off-season move, or do you think Holland is considering it now? Tommy, where do you come out on Barrie as a tradable asset, either prior to the deadline or in the offseason?
I think he has value. Some people here would probably scoff at that, but I think he has trade value, and people would like the offensive element he brings to the table. I don't know if Ken Holland's looking to actively move Tyson Barrie. I think the one area where he would consider that is if he thinks he can upgrade on the right side of the blue line with a right shot guy over Barrie in one of these deals. I don't know if it includes a package or anything, but I don't think he's actively shopping Tyson Barrie right now. I mean, he committed to him for a few years for a reason. And unless there's like a no-brainer deal that involves Tyson Barrie and a guy who could play the right side of the blue line with the right shot there coming back the other way, I don't think it happens. But that's just my hunch.
Original Puzar with a question from somewhere in the world. I know he was tweeting us earlier in the week for some world beach traveler in the sun. This guy, but he's still just grinding out questions for the oil stream, which I love. Dead cap bounce with the new coach is usually 10 games max. Is the increased work rate and better 5-on-5 D and limiting Russian odd man chances sustainable? Tommy, where do you come out on this one?
I believe so. I feel like the new coach bump wore off around the first loss or two. That's where it felt like the momentum. Because
they did come in so hot, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then now we're kind of seeing the fruits of the minimal labor they put into practice time, because they just haven't had a ton of it, where they tried out and implemented the things Jay Woodcroft wanted to see from them defensively, through the neutral zone, all of that. And they're finding it's working, and they're trusting the system. And when you trust the system, understand the system, and you start to execute on it, that builds confidence. And I think we're seeing that, like the way they're playing these games. And the good example of that to me was the 3 games to start this trip. They stuck with it through all 3 of those games, gave themselves a chance in all 3, won the one in Florida. And then yesterday stuck with it again. Although they were leaky, gave the Flyers some chances again. No puck luck, Flyers, no confidence. But I think that's the tell that it is sustainable and that they are truly implementing and continually keeping that wrinkle in the system in place so it is sustainable, if that makes any sense.
No, it makes sense. Final question.
Thank you.
This is a fun one. If Koskinen was a $2 million goalie, would he be the best backup in the league? And would Tom like him more? That comes from David.
It's not that I don't like him.
You clearly hate this guy, Tommy.
He's a very nice guy. He's super nice. It's just anytime he teases us and gets elevated and then there's the letdown, I'm just going like, yeah, exactly. This is what it is. If he was a $2 million backup, would he be the best backup in the league? There's some really good backups in the league.
The answer is no. Like, he wouldn't be one of the best backups in the league. No.
No, he would just be a guy that you'd be like, oh, Mikko Koskinen's playing. They might win tonight. Or, oh, Mikko Koskinen's playing. They might just get destroyed tonight. It just swings so wildly like this season has. Mikko Koskinen's performances are part of that wild swing thing.
I still like the question. That's funny. I don't
dislike him.
It doesn't matter now. I mean, that's the narrative, Tommy. Like, unless you start wearing a Valen Camus t-shirt on the oil stream, people will think that you dislike him. So let me know if you want one.
First of all, I haven't received a Valen Camus t-shirt, and it would probably wind up being like just a rag in the garage for when I do my oil changes and stuff.
See, you don't like them. This is what we're talking about. This is the exact thing that we're talking about. All right, there you go. That's going to do it for another episode of The Oil Stream. If you've been listening on the podcast, tell your friends about it. Give us a rating on all those podcast platforms. That would be great. Tommy will be on the air tomorrow morning again with Low Tide and the Lowdown. And then what time's that pregame tomorrow, Tommy? Is it 5 o'clock game again?
It's 6:30 tomorrow, so we're 5:30.
It's a 6:30 start tomorrow night?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
We've got weird times this week,
Yeah.
and then the Montreal game on Saturday is a 5 p.m. start.
That's
so
a 5 o'clock local here, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so Tommy will be in there with the pregame, postgame tomorrow. I'll be back tomorrow morning on the Smash Hit Nielsen show, so you can join us there for some more Oilers talk. We'll get you ready for that game on a bunch of different platforms. Tommy, enjoy the rest of your day, buddy, and I will chat with you. We'll work tomorrow, and then back with another episode of The Oil Stream on Friday. We'll talk to you then, bud.
See ya in person tomorrow again, Dusty. What a treat.